Pemex, founded in 1938 under then-President Lázaro Cárdenas, Pemex, or Petróleos Mexicanos, has become a symbol of Mexican nationalism and independence. Beginning with the Mexican Revolution in 1910, the cry of the Mexican populace to regain control of their lands culminated in the expulsion of all foreign and private companies under Cárdenas, who has now become the face of the current Pemex debate.
On the privatization side of this hotly contested debate, proponents chastise Pemex for its lack of production efficiency. When considering revenue per employee, as the graph highlights, Mexico is 16th when compared to other state-run oil companies such as Petrobras in Brazil, PDV in Venezuela, or Ecopetrol in Colombia. While consumption has remained relatively constant, production has steadily declined in Mexico since 2001. Some of the decline in Mexico's production comes as a result of the depletion of the Cantarell oil field. To make matters worse, Mexico's oil reserves have steadily declined along with production, despite the fact that when one considers deepwater reserves in the Gulf of Mexico, the country has the 8th largest reserves in the world. Much of the argument for privatization hopes to provide the badly needed investment to allow Pemex to explore deepwater reserves and increase its production capacity. Peña Nieto's reforms are sizable ones. As Duncan Wood from the Woodrow Wilson Center in Washington, D.C. claims, the reform is the most significant change in Mexico's economic policy in 100 years. Peña Nieto, along with his party, the Partido Revolucionario Institucional, or PRI, propose amending the Constitution to allow Pemex to engage in joint ventures with foreign oil companies, going beyond former President Calderón's allowance of integrated service contracts with foreign companies. However, the amendment means altering articles of the Mexican Constitution, particularly those that have defended oil as being a good of the nation's citizens, which had an immense impact on popular Mexican sentiment and have garnered harsh resistance.
Currently, Article 27 states that, in the case of petroleum and solid, liquid, or gaseous hydrocarbons, no concessions or contracts will be granted, nor may those that have been granted continue, and the nation shall carry out the exploitation of these products. Article 28 states that the state's activities performed within the following strategic areas that follow will not be considered as monopolies: oil and all the hydrocarbons. However, the proposed reforms to these articles are as follows. Article 27 will be modified to remove the ban that prevents the government from contracting with individuals for the exploration and extraction of oil and gas. It also will establish a scheme of profit-sharing contracts. Article 28 will be modified to allow not only Pemex but also individuals to carry out activities of refining, petrochemicals, transport, and storage of hydrocarbons. It will establish a system of permits to do so. These reforms will allow foreign private companies to come in, and the reform of Article 28 will additionally do away with the protection of Pemex as a monopoly. In this case, Pemex will no longer be protected by the state, and the profits that once belonged to the people may now go to support foreign private companies instead. Hello, my name is Sally Quigley, and I'm here with my colleague John Burling to discuss the Reforma Energética, the comprehensive Pemex reform in Mexico. So we'll begin with you, John. What's your opinion on this reform?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, Sally. The Reforma Energética is important for Mexico for two main reasons: badly needed investment and to spark competition. Pemex is chronically deficient in liquidity and it needs investment to grow. Pemex is also a classic government cash cow, and the company desperately requires investment to explore new production capabilities in the Gulf and also to expand its production output in general. Mexico also lacks the facilities to refine crude oil, and as a result has to import all of its gasoline from the United States, which is another which shows another part of the lack of investment in the infrastructure in Mexico. The second point is about competition. When you compare it to other government-run conglomerates, Pemex is chronically unproductive. Its production per worker is one of the lowest in the world. And without providing the private incentive that is necessary to spark competition and encourage Pemex to reform things like its lofty pension program, the company is still going to produce under capacity.
Well, you've made some really great points, John. It's clear that Pemex needs to be reformed. While these reforms are good in theory, we need to consider what they imply. So the government says that even with these reforms, Pemex is going to remain 100% Mexican. But once changes are made at a constitutional level, Mexico is opening the door for further private integration, ultimately taking the benefits of Pemex out of the hands of the people it is meant to support. It's true that reforms must be made, but privatization is not the answer. Rather, we should look at reforms such as transparency or releasing the stranglehold that the government has over Pemex's finances.
Well, that's an excellent point, Sally. Perhaps when we think about efficiency, we have to ask the question, what does efficiency mean?
It's really important to note that efficiency doesn't just mean the bottom line, but it also has the full implications of societal and environmental impacts as well. In the name of efficiency, who are the winners?